President Mahama tells TUC government could consider outstanding claims in 2017 budget. News are live on GBC24 and GTV. My name is Suyoko Kwakutre.
And I am Micheline Taka. You're welcome.
Now to our first story. Speaking in a packed auditorium of TUC members and facing elections few months away, President John Mahama indicated that the government would resist the temptation of breaching the budget.
Speaking at the 10th Quadrennial Congress of the Trades Union Congress in Kumasi, the president said financial discipline is the only way to keep the national economy on track. Outstanding claims, he assured the workers, would be considered in the 2017 budget report by Napoleon Atukitu.
The vanguard of labor, the Trades Union Congress, TUC, observed an important program on its calendar, the 10th Quadrennial Congress in Kumasi. It was attended by President John Mahama. Organized labor acknowledged that workers were well cushioned following the implementation of the single spine pay policy between 2010 and 2012. It further stated that the value of the currency reduced and therefore wages and salaries failed to match cost of living. Outgoing TUC General Secretary Mr. Kofi Asamoah characteristically kicked against foreign prescriptions for national problems.
Mr. President, IMF programs have never worked anywhere and they will not work here. Your Excellency, the implementation of the single spine pay policy brought some relief to public sector workers in terms of salary increases between 2010 and 2012. Since 2013, however, public sector workers have been experiencing a decline in real value of their pay because the rate of increase of the base pay on the single spine salary structure has consistently lagged behind inflation. We appreciate the economic challenges in the last few years, but we can no longer accept a situation where public sector workers at the bottom of the salary scale are being driven into poverty because of the IMF program.
The Ghanaian economy, which recorded the fastest growth in the world on 14%, began to decline on the back of the single spine pay policy, which consumed 70% of national revenue. Government therefore decided to turn to the IMF, which injected about $900 million to stabilize the economy. The president is sticking to his guns by enforcing a disciplined financial regime to put the economy on the right path. Analysts project a positive outlook for Ghana's economy in the medium term on account of the tough measures. However, restoring the micro and macroeconomic indicators have come in the wake of some sacrifices, which the president admits.
Acceding to demands to pay interim premiums will throw the budget completely off track and make nonsense of the sacrifices we have made together over the last year. I wish to assure you that it is government's intention to implement a comprehensive policy on payment of premiums starting from next year, and I've asked the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations to enter into an MOU with CLOSAG to this effect.
The president predicted that ongoing projects will unleash jobs for many people, citing a new 600-bed hospital as an example. The president said if 2 nurses are assigned to each bed, it gives a clear picture of numbers that the project will employ. This drew cheers. A key part of Congress is the elections to find a replacement for Mr. Kofi Asamoah, who steps down after 2 terms as General Secretary of the TUC. Napoleon Atukitu reporting from Kumasi.
It has come to the attention of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation GBC that some unauthorized television and radio stations, including Angel TV, are illegally airing the 2016 Olympic Games ongoing in Brazil's capital, Rio de Janeiro. The second phase of the re-registration of NHRS registrants is only 2 days to go, but EC officials say the exercise is yet to gather pace. In this second phase, voters whose names were deleted from the voters register can only re-register at the various district offices of the EC and not the polling stations where they registered. A report by Winifred Efum. The
Electoral Commission extended the re-registration of NHIS card registrants onto the voters register from the 5th of August after some people failed to take advantage of the first window of opportunity. This time, the NHIS card registrants can only re-register at the EC's district offices across the country, which are not as close to voters as polling stations. The news team went a long way trying to locate the re-registration centers at the EC's district offices. All the centers we visited were empty. We finally met Dr. Prince Bonjuvanu at the Cambridge Preparatory Polling Station at Dansoman Junction, who directed us to the Ablekuma District Office of the Electoral Commission. When we got there, the EC officials were busy at work. The supervisor here told the news team that 4,342 NHIS card registrants had their names deleted in the 635 polling centers in the Ablekuma West, North, South and Central constituencies. He said so far 246 voters had come to re-register since the beginning of the extension. He hoped that the numbers would increase. We were told that the office was open for re-registration, reprinting of missing ID cards, and correction of details. The re-registration of the NHIS card registrants will end on the 12th of August. However, reprinting of ID cards will continue. Correction of details on the cards is also ongoing. The team later met with Madam Ophelia Doe, who had come to replace a missing ID card. She was told to go to the Ghana Commercial Bank to pay 5 cedis before the replacement of a card could be done. Madam Edith Randolph had also come to re-register, although she claimed she did not use an NHIS card to register. The NPP and NDC had their representatives at the district office.
People went to the same sentence and their names were not found at all. They are not part of the NHIS, but their names were not in the register. But they were given an inclusion authority form to come here and they were able to get their card back.
From 5th to today's 9th, I think we recorded less than 200. So it's not impressive at all.
Also at the office were exhibition officers who had come to account for the materials they had been given for the exercise. For GBC24, Winifred Efum, Accra.
Thank you very much for staying on. The flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papakwesi Indom, has addressed a rally at Potiano, English Amanfrom near Kaswa, during which he urged the electorate to vote for people who would deliver on their promises and his resolve to build an all-inclusive society. Dr. Indom said job creation is one of the challenges currently facing the country and admonished Ghanaians to give him the mandate to change the country's fortunes.
The Progressive People's Party, PPP, was formed based on the ideology that Ghana deserves better than what has been achieved in the Fourth Republic. In its campaign messages, the party is appealing to Ghanaians to give the PPP the chance to demonstrate its readiness to reform and strengthen state institutions. The rally at Botiano, English Amanfro, near Kasua, was to officially introduce Madame Bridget Jobanuku, the running mate for Dr. Papakwesi Indom, to the people, and also spell out the PPP's 10-point agenda for transformation.
English Amanfro, who here PPP pa, it's na mabaha first. It's ebedu abatu ono so sa na sese moche, se ahadie eye PPP maini. Mo to abana Reverend Labi. Any Dr. Ndom, na mo beto abana mo, amo agasa mo be hu niema ebesisa ewo mo PPP. PPP. What is Ghana ma
The national chairman, Ni Alotebriu Hammond, reiterated that the PPP has gained credibility for its ideas to provide compulsory continuous education and eradicate preventable diseases. He gave the assurance that the party will honor its promises when given the mandate. Dr. Pakwesi Indrum was emphatic that his desire to create more jobs for the people will not be a fluke and asked Ghanaians to give him the nod.
The wasted vote is the vote you give to the other people. But if you vote for the Progressive People's Party, that is where the jobs will come from. That is where power will come from. That is where the better schools will come from. That is where we will get rid of malaria, cholera, and monococcal meningitis. That is where everybody will know that this country belongs to us. It doesn't belong to anybody.
The aspiring MP for the PPP, Reverend Alfred Nilabi, was also introduced to the gathering. Others who claim to have defected from other parties to join the PPP rallied support for the party.
The Trainers Program for Teachers, termed Africa Code Week, has been launched in Accra. The program aims to teach teachers coding, which they will in turn pass on to school children. Coding is basically a system of signals used to transmit messages using computer technology. Mrs. Matilda and Mr. Arthur, the wife of the Vice President, performed the launching and asked beneficiaries to embrace the opportunity.
The launch in Accra was to organize a 2-day Train the Trainer session for some 300 teachers drawn from public schools. The beneficiary teachers are expected to teach school children how to scratch and code on the computer. The training of the children starts in October when the Africa Code Week actually begins. The founder of Ghana Code Club, who is also the Africa Code Week implementing partner in Ghana, Madame Ernestina Appiah, said it is time for Ghanaian children to develop their own computer applications and games instead of playing games developed by others.
Coding is so simple. It's about communicating with a computer, instructing it to perform a particular task. This is computer science. Now they are not supposed to be using, they are supposed to be making. That is the age we are now. They are supposed to be making, not just teaching children to save. What the end user needs is what the children must supply.
The wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Matilda and Mr. Arthur, observed that teachers are vital links between the teaching and learning process, hence they must continuously sharpen their skills and be innovative for effective teaching.
I want to urge you teachers, because you are the key, you are the most important link in this chain of getting the children in Ghana to learn about coding, scratch, to use, for it to transform their lives. And therefore, your ability not just to teach them what you've learned this week, but to also help them to explore, also help them to find themselves, to reach out, will go much further than we all think.
The project is organized by Cape Town Science Center, CTSC, in collaboration with SAP, Dream Oval, Ghana Code Club, and the Ghana Education Service. Theodora Medeto, GBC24, Accra.
On this local story, Ghana has revised its roadmap for the attainment of universal water coverage and averts water shortage. The annual volume of water in Ghana's inland water bodies is estimated at 54.4 billion cubic meters. Of this, only 19% is harnessed or treated for use. The Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing revealed the revised roadmap at the Meet the Press series in Accra.
Ghana's target to attain 100% universal water coverage by 2025 is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Ghana has, since the inception of the SDGs, committed more resources to that goal. With this, it is envisaged that the current 76% urban water coverage will increase to 78% by the end of 2016, while the rural water supply project will also see an improvement in water supply in 6 regions including Northern, Western, Central, Brong-Ahafo, Upper East and Upper West regions respectively. Beneficiary communities will also have boreholes and institutional lavatories, some of which are already in place. The ministry says government is committed to addressing the country's housing deficit, which currently stands at 1.7 million housing units. To this end, government is to execute a number of affordable housing projects in Boteman and Asakware Mampong. Smith is to execute that project. The project at Boteman in the Greater Accra region is 95% complete. Government is also sourcing funds to complete the remaining 686 units in Kufodia, Wa and Tamale. A Deputy Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Mr. Samson Ahi, said a bill for the establishment of an authority to regulate real estate development in the country is before Parliament for consideration.
TDC has over time built up every inch of to continue to facilitate orderly development. Government recognizes the need for TDC to extend its experience to other areas. To achieve this, steps have been taken by government to convert TDC into a limited liability company. In pursuance of this, Cabinet has granted approval for TDC to be converted into a limited liability company.
He said a number of sea defense projects are also under construction. Fisher folks in the Keta municipality have taken delivery of 83 subsidized outboard motors to augment their activities. The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Madam Sherry Aite, said the exercise forms part of the government's social intervention to transform the lives of fishermen.
Under the initiative, the fisher folks are expected to contribute 60% of the cost of the provision of any farm input or assistance of any kind, while government through the District Assembly Common Fund bears the 40% of the remaining costs. Apart from the assistance in the areas of farm inputs, government is also pre-financing pre-mixed fuel for the various landing beaches for the fishing communities. This, according to the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, is expected to improve the source of livelihood of fisher folks in the country. In all, 84 fisher folks benefited from the distribution exercise. The Volta Regional Fish Festival Planning Committee Chairman, Captain George Infojo, retired, commended government for the initiative and urged fish farmers to stick to proper methods of fish farming and maintain sanity at the beaches. Presenting the outboard motors, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Madam Sherry Aite, said the landing sites will be improved to cater for the educational needs of children of fisher folks. According to her, government has completed phase 1 of the fishermen insurance policy and would be introducing the phase 2, which will cater for 1 million fishermen. She therefore urged the fishermen to take advantage of the policy when implemented. The sector minister noted that plans are underway to provide scholarship schemes for brilliant but needy children of fishermen to help them access quality education.
During the lean season, when there's very little fish, there are some domestic challenges. So the ministry has introduced scholarship scheme for fishermen's children, and fish smokers are children. So very soon we will launch our scholarship scheme to cater for your children.
Hello, good evening and welcome. We are grateful to have you join us for some business updates. I am Dorothy Ajimai. Consumer price inflation declined sharply from 18.4% in June to 16.7% in July. The sharp decline has been attributed to a stable Ghana cedi and a seasonality effect on food pricing.
On-year non-food inflation rate, however, declined to 21.2% from 24.1% between the one-month period. Meanwhile, the inflation rate for imported items decreased to 15.2% in July 2016 from the 17.3% recorded in July 2016, whilst inflation for locally produced items was, however, 2.1% higher than the imported items in July. The main price drivers for non-food inflation rates were education, recreation and culture, transport, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, clothing and footwear, and furnishing household equipment and routine maintenance. Two regions, Greater Accra and Ashanti, recorded the highest inflation rate, higher than the national average of 16.7%.
President John Dramani Mahama will on the 18th of this month turn on the valve for the first flow of oil from the FPSO Atamils. The ceremony will mark Ghana's second major oil production from the TEN project. An estimated 80,000 million barrels of oil a day is expected to be produced from the facility.
Ghana became an oil and gas producing country in 2010. Prior to inaugurating the first oil, the nation announced the discovery of oil and gas in commercial quantities at the Jubilee fields in 2007. Since 2010, there has been steady production until recently when the bearings on the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah got damaged. The situation has been rectified and oil production is back with 100,000 barrels per day. One of the important discoveries is a cluster of wells referred to as the TEN projects. First oil from the project with FPSO Atamils is expected to begin on the 18th of August 2016.
The FPSO Mills is the FPSO that the first oil from TEN will be produced into. And that is an FPSO that can produce up to 80,000 barrels a day. That's what it's designed for. We can also produce 50 to 70 million standard cubic feet of gas.
With the increase in production level from the Jubilee field and the TEN project, Ghana Gas is expected to see some expansion and increased gas intake from both fields.
We, in anticipation also of the increased amount of gas to be processed, we are expanding the current GPP to be able to process about 180 million scf of gas per day. So that in the event that the 120 million from the Jubilee fields come on stream, together with the 50 million from TEN, the gas processing plant will be able to do that without having to put up a new one.
According to the Chief Executive of the Petroleum Commission, passing of the Production and Exploration Bill will further strengthen the production of oil and gas in the country. The Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Moses Asaga, and the Chief Executive of Bost and Tor, Mr. Kwame Ewadako, said the deregulation policy has yielded a lot of dividend for the country.
There's a lot of price competition in the market, and this price competition also have led to lower prices.
A successful deregulation of petroleum prices, which has yielded incredible savings to the Ghanaian consumer. In fact, when we did our last calculation, a total of 4.4 billion cedis has been saved in the difference of prices between the hitherto automatic price adjustment formula and the actual prices paid in the pump since we deregulated in June 2016. The operations of the refinery have been very satisfactory. We've managed to process 3 million barrels. We are getting ready to process another 4 million barrels. And various projects and adjustments that we've been making and developments within the refinery is going to make sure that the future of the company is secured. And it's going to be impossible for people to import petroleum products cheaper than we can make it in Ghana.
According to GOIL, their strategic partnership is giving consumers value for money. The Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company said their company is rolling out 40,000 cylinders for rural communities.
You watching News Hour, and this is the business segment. On the interbank market, the dollar is selling at 3 cedis 95 pesos, the pound sterling at 5 cedis 14 pesos, and 3 cedis 38 pesos for the euro. On the International Commodities Board, light crude is selling at $42.28 per barrel, an ounce of gold at $1,350.20, and a ton of cocoa at $2,972. In insurance news, a claim for comprehensive insurance or motor insurance policy differs from that of life insurance policy, but the principles for both still stand. This is because insurance experts say the act of having motor insurance with 2 or more insurance companies is illegal. However, there is nothing wrong to have life insurance policy with multiple companies. Claiming one's insurance returns is a very important aspect of the process. Insurance claims are to demystify the policyholder and get him back on track to where he formerly was, but not to make profit. In an act where a motor insurance policyholder signs onto a policy with 2 different insurance companies with the same vehicle, is described as illegal and deemed fraudulent. An insurance claims consultant at Quality Insurance Company, Mr. Bona Akest, explains why such acts should be discouraged.
At the underwriting stage, when you are insuring the property, there is a typical question on every proposal form that you complete. And the question is, are you now insured? Or have you insured this property with any other company in connection with this vehicle or any other vehicle owned or driven by you? So basically, the underwriting proposal form would ask you whether you have an existing policy on that property, on that vehicle, for example. If you answer no, whereas you have another existing policy, then you are trying to defraud, that being a motive.
According to the CEO for Ghana Union Assurance Life, Mr. Kwesi Ofei, insurance companies sort out the entitlement or cost of the vehicle, but does not mean the policyholder will get 2 different compensations because he holds the same policy with 2 different companies with a vehicle. If mutual settlement is assured, what then happens in such a case?
If it is not completely damaged or bent completely, then there is partly damage. It's a case of fixing it. That is where we sometimes introduce the idea of you contributing for the betterment of the state of your car. And you appreciate it. That indeed the state into which we have brought your car back was better than it was before. But the idea was to fix you just at that point where you were. And it's sometimes not possible. Sometimes it will be better. And that is where sometimes we call you to contribute. But it will be mutually settled easily.
This means prospective insurers are to insure their properties at their replacement value, current market value at the time of the loss, or sum insured. On the other hand, life insurance policyholders can take multiple insurance policies but are not contract of indemnity. The insurance news was brought to you by SIC Live. The news continues after this break.
The bone is normally resistant to infection. However, osteomyelitis occurs when microorganisms get into the bone through the bloodstream. 19-year-old Grace Numbila is suffering from this medical condition and needs an amount of 25,000 Ghana cedis for a hip replacement surgery.
2 out of every 10,000 people get osteomyelitis, according to a WHO report. The condition affects children and adults, although in different ways. This medical condition is an infection of the bone, a rare but serious condition. In adolescents, osteomyelitis is a serious disease with a potential for lifelong disability. However, if Grace Nambila, who is suffering from this medical condition, does not get the total amount of 25,000 Ghana cedis to undergo the hip replacement surgery, she could be disabled forever. She narrates her audio and tells us about the difficult conditions she has been through for the past 15 years.
I'll be going to school and sometimes the pains will come and it will go. Sometimes the leg will swallow and water will be coming out from it. And the doctor says it was caused by osteomyelitis. Please, I need 25,000 for my leg. Please, I'm appealing for fun. Please help me to end my suffering.
Grace Nambila hopes to escape the constant pain and suffering. Anyone who wants to support her to undergo the surgery could do so through the following account details. Account name, Grace Nambila. Account number, 028 352 1494. Barclays Bank, KJTR branch, Kumasi. Or contact the following numbers, 0506 916 534 or 0540 176 826.
The amount is too small for this worthy cause. Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the Narcotics Control Board, Mr. Yao Akrasi Sapon, is calling for more research into marijuana to enable the country to harness the medicinal and economic values of the plant. Not in any way encouraging the illicit use of the drug, Mr. Akrasi Sapon insists that regulating its use affords the country space to compete on the international market and generate income for farmers. Mr. Sapon was speaking with journalists enlisted into the ECOWAS Community Development Program in Accra. A report by Sarah Fori.
The spate of marijuana abuse and its trade is said to be high in the ECOWAS sub-region. Many arrests and seizures have been made, yet the illicit activities continue unabated. What's more, those incarcerated are not reformed from the habit of smoking. Many have argued for the medicinal and economic values of marijuana, for which reason it has been legalized and regulated in parts of the US and other Asian countries. When journalists from the Community Development Program of the Economic Community of West African States paid a visit to the Executive Director of the Narcotics Control Board, Mr. Yao Akrasi Sapon, he called for more research into the drug for the country to reap the benefits if there are.
Government must put in research for medical marijuana, because if others are using medical marijuana elsewhere and there's scientific research, we must have our own body of scientific research, not imported from elsewhere, but here. And if the research shows that there is some medical use, we must have regulations on how those things are used.
He described the arrest and incarceration into prison of those caught smoking marijuana as a complete waste of resources and suggested a smart criminal justice system whose aim is reducing the demand, supply, and harmful effects of marijuana on its users.
Why is it that we are spending so much money on picking people who smoke one roll and remanding them in prison? That is an onslaught on conscience. That is a question you should be asking. Because I'm not saying don't ask this question also, but it's complete waste of public resources.
Mr. Akrasi Sapon added that there should be training of addiction professionals who are best able to rehabilitate drug addicts. He expressed commitment to support and collaborate with the ECOWAS CDP journalists in the areas of capacity building and the clampdown on illicit drug trade, as well as its abuse. Mr. Akrasi Sapon takes a bow from NACOP in November this year. Sarah Fori, GBC24, Accra.
And that's it for the health segment.
You welcome back. The government has given the hint that it will not be able to continue to invest in keeping the peace in restive parts of the country at the expense of development. Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur particularly cited flashpoints in northern Ghana, which has cost the state a lot of resources. He said this when a section of Gonja chiefs called on him at the Flagstaff House here in Accra. A story by Nuto Bibini Nuto.
The delegation of chiefs and traditional leaders from Gonjaland were at the seat of government to inform the executive of the passing of the Pembewura, Alhaji Suleimani Abubakar Wuchumbori. He was the chief of Salaga who fell sick and passed a couple of weeks ago. The late Pembewura has been interred in line with Islamic tradition. According to the delegation, a successor has been identified, awaiting enskinment and outdooring.
The good news is that Pembe Division, well known for its peace, has within a miraculous 7 days nominated and elected a new chief, a new Pembewura, to replace our lost father. And the new Pembewura used to be the Singbewura, Haruna Dari. He has asked us to inform you that on the 14th of August, 2 days after the 7th day Adwa, he intends to enskin as the Pembewura in Pembe. And we will be pleased to invite the presidency.
Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur described the late chief as a man of peace who pursued peace with his neighbors.
We hope that the example you have shown, the selection and nomination of the new Pembewura, will be a lesson for all of us, all parts of our country, to minimize this rivalry in the chieftaincy, which then translates into problems among the communities, so that we can continue to live in peace and we can direct the resources that this country has into meaningful development rather than in maintaining a peace. We can't be buying weapons when we want to make roads. We can't be feeding soldiers to move and stay well outside of their barracks because people cannot live together. We must be able to do that. So it's an appeal. So it's not so much for the Gonja people, but I think that what you do is a great lesson to others, and I hope that we'll be able to do well in this country.
The late Pembewura was a respected Gonja chief who died at the age of 92. Nto Bibini Nto, GBC24, Flagstaff House.
You're watching News Hour. This is the international segment. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki has died. The former leader of one of the biggest economies in Africa died at the age of 74. We take a quick break. We'll be back with sports. To stay with us.
Hello there, good evening. My name is Rebecca Iwan. For the sports side of the news, Ghana has been selected to host one of the qualifiers for the Global Charity Golf Competition, christened GEC Open Invitational. The one-day competition will be staged at the Celebrity Golf Club at Sakumono. The aim is to help raise funds to support the UNHCR refugee project for 2016.
72 top Ghanaian golfers are expected to converge on the Sakumono Celebrity Golf Club to battle for a 3-slot at the 2016 edition of the Global Enterprise Connect Golf Open, GC Open. Ghana has been selected alongside Kenya and Egypt to play in the maiden qualification round on the 27th of August this year. The Global Enterprise Connect Open is the fastest growing corporate golf tournament in the world. It was initiated in 2014 in the United Arab Emirates. Winners from Ghana will face other heavyweights from the Middle East, Asia and Africa to battle for the top title in Dubai for 2 days in the world's two best golf clubs, Emirates Golf Club and Dubai Creek Golf Club. Launching the event at the Holiday Inn Hotel in Accra, the country representative of GC Open, Stephen Tengan, promised an exciting event.
GC Open 2016 we held in 10 fast-growing countries connecting Africa. And Africa is being represented by Ghana, Kenya, and Egypt. And in the Middle East and as well as Asia, we are sure the journey is getting only bigger and better in 2016. We look forward to hosting top finalists from all the 10 countries for 2 days at the World Final in December 2016 in Dubai. Ghana will be represented by 3 finalists with all expenses paid round trip.
The idea behind this is to raise awareness for the charity and to raise funding for the charity. So ideally, we're targeting people that have a charitable disposition and the means, and also some people that will raise the profile of the competition. So it is an invitational. There'll be a men's A and B category, so the lower handicaps separated, so the high handicaps also have an opportunity. It's based on handicap, and there'll be a ladies section as well. So those are the 3 main prizes which will go through to Dubai. Besides that, there'll be prizes, handouts, giveaways for everybody else there. There'll be entertainment later on.
Representatives of some corporate institutions partnering the maiden edition promised an exciting experience.
And the chairman of the Premier League board, Ashford Teteoku, has expressed his delight at the positive chalked so far in the ongoing Premier League. Mr. Teteoku says despite the absence of a title sponsor, the level of competitiveness and the historical achievements recorded is worth celebrating. 7 more matches will be played to end the 2015-2016 league season.
If for nothing at all, we are in a position to celebrate a few exciting elements of our game this season. We'll be looking at the Super Monday or the special Sunday clashes between the 2 giants of Ghana football that recorded a gross total of 800,000 Ghana cedis. That is 453,000 for the Accra game and then 347 for the Kumasi game. We will want to celebrate a rarely occurring event where a goalkeeper, as in Philemon McCarthy, scoring the goal from his end of the pitch against New Edubiase. We will also want to refresh ourselves with a dogfight in the Goal King title. And then one of our goals, that is Brighter J of Aduana, his goal against Ash Gold was adjudged CNN goal of the week, I think around match day 5. Then we have 22 games gone. It's only -4. 18 of the games had recorded, 18 match day games had recorded either braces or hat-tricks. And these are highlights that I think as a football association we need to celebrate.
And that's all for sports.
You're welcome back to the entertainment segment. In Ghanaian culture, it is almost unusual if a man in trousers ties his waist with a piece of cloth and walks about in public. But for areas in the middle and southern part of the Volta region, this type of dressing is a must, especially when taking part in traditional dances such as Agbaja, Ajida, and Madeji.
In Oberland, tying a piece of cloth on one's waist this way is called Akpababla. Akpababla is one of the ancient traditional practices of some of the elders, which most of the current generation practice unconsciously without even knowing its name. Some of the present generation of elders are also forgetting the relevance of Akpababla and therefore jump onto a traditional talk or Anglo dance floor without the required type of dressing. However, at the funeral of the mother of the Volta Regional Minister, Madame Helena Drantoso, the agriculture and other traditional practices were put on display. In Everland, whenever pallbearers move the casket like this, it comes with its spiritual interpretations, and that evokes the saying, Ngoli Huagba Magbado, meaning, no matter how angry a ghost is, it can never avoid the grave.
It's a wrap on the news for now. Thank you so much for watching.
We come your way again at 10:30 with news tonight.